So are you guys ready to get started? It's exciting. So today's recipe is a healthy vegan meatballs or bean balls with white beans. And this is a recipe I made up mostly in my head today, but I first got inspired by seeing some chickpea meatballs on Instagram, and I wanted to make some, but I wanted to use navy beans or white beans because I really love the flavor of that. Chickpeas, you eat a lot of chickpeas when you're vegan and they get old, so I wanted to try some white navy beans. So I just looked around some recipes and I made it up in my head. So here we go. So the first thing you're going to need is a can of navy beans, and we're actually only going to use half the can. I made a half recipe. You can double it very easily, but I'm going to show you the half recipe. So navy beans is what you need. And then we're going to need some panko breadcrumbs. So you can use those or the more Japanese style. And then we're going to need some quick oats or any kind of oats that you have. We're going to need ground flaxseed, nutritional yeast as always, and some more dry ingredients we have are onion and garlic powder. And then we're also going to need some chopped onion and fresh herbs and more spices if you like. So that is the ingredients that you'll need. And the first thing that I want to show you guys, because it's something that you do have to do about 10 minutes before you get started putting everything together. So always do this first, is we're going to be making a flax egg. So that is what the ground flax is for. And this is what it looks like. So you can get that at Bulk Barn, you can get it at Costco. And it's best if you actually keep it in the fridge, because it actually does go stale a lot faster than any other sort of dry or baking good that you need. And flax is used as an egg substitute when you're doing vegan cooking, and it can be used in baking or savory foods like this. So what you want to do is put 1 tablespoon of flax in 2.5 tablespoons of water, and that creates 1 egg if you're doing a replacement. And then you want to leave that for 10 or 15 minutes. And then it comes out exactly the consistency of egg, except it has tons of fiber in it. It has no cholesterol, no saturated fat, none of the gross, unhealthy stuff that comes from eggs. And it's actually really good for men because it really helps prevent prostate cancer. So totally amazing stuff. But if you check this out, it becomes this really egg-like consistency. So it's pretty cool. So make sure you do that about 5 or 10 minutes early so that it can get clumpy. All right, so let's get started. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to get our beans. So that's about 1/2 of a can, and this is a 19-ounce can. So you have 1/2 of a can or about a cup. And what you can actually do this in just with a fork if you want to mash it down, but I'm going to do it in my food processor when I get the blade. I always forget something, but at least I'm consistent. Okay, so let's blend these up really quickly and get them in the bowl. There we go. So pop those in there. And the white beans are really great. I like them better than the chickpeas because they have a lot of liquid in them. So it's going to help pull this together a little bit better than chickpeas would, I think. So you can leave big chunks of the beans and it just makes a nice different texture. But we're going to get it down pretty fine. And then we're going to get rid of this guy. So you want some big chunks, but you want it to get pretty pureed, and that will help it all stick together. So I think a lot of times when you try to make vegan meatballs, they get pretty dry, and that's not good. So this has got lots of moisture in there. Great. Then, so you have your beans. Now we have the rest of our stuff. So we have some onion. This is 1/4 of an onion, and I chopped that really fine. Or if you want to take an easy way out, you can also just put it through a cheese shredder or a shredder. So we're going to get that in there. And then we have 1/8 of a cup of the breadcrumbs. And you can use sort of Italian breadcrumbs if you can find a vegan version, or panko is fine. And then we have 1/8 of a cup of oats. So this has actually been put through a bullet blender. You can make your own oat flour, but you could also just leave the oats plain as they come out of the bag. So that's 1/8 of a cup. And then I have 1 clove of fresh garlic, but again, I always will advocate for putting more garlic. Get it out there. And then I'm also going to put some more. This is 1/2 of a teaspoon of garlic powder and 1/2 of a teaspoon of onion powder. And then I have some fresh herbs from my garden. So we have fresh basil and fresh oregano. And this is actually cinnamon basil, which I can show you guys. We'll have a brief basil break here. So this is probably more familiar basil. So this is regular Italian or Genovese basil. So that's what the leaves look like on that. And then this is a type of Thai basil, but it's cinnamon basil. So it has, like, it's wild, a really strong cinnamon flavor. But when you cook with them and put them in a savory dish, it's not overwhelmingly cinnamon, but it's really, really cool. So we've got that all in there, all of our ingredients. And then I almost forgot our most important ingredient. Oh my God. So we have nutritional yeast. So this is kind of going to mimic when people would put like Parmesan in the meatballs. This is going to give it that cheesy taste. And it's also going to give it that sort of savory taste. So we've got 1.5 tablespoons. And that's what you want if you're trying to make if you're new to veganism and trying to make a sort of meat substitute, you want that savory or smoky flavor. So we have everything in there. And then we're going to put our 1 flax egg in there. And that's, when it cooks up, is going to actually hold it together really well. It's not going to fall apart. And then you just mash it all together. And this is where it doesn't matter too much how much you pulse down the beans, because you can just squish them a little more. So it's going to come together really well. I always think that white beans kind of look like either ground chicken or ground pig. So if you are looking for a substitute, it's really good. And this whole recipe is a whole foods recipe, which is super healthy for you as well. You've got your protein from the beans. You've got good, healthy carbohydrates. It's pretty low fat. And you've got your flax in there, which is healthy. Your nutritional yeast is healthy. So this is great. So it comes together super quick. Everything just mushes together, and it's got a really decent amount of moisture without being like too liquidy, right? So that's that. And I think with chickpeas, it would get really dry. So I love this white bean method. So there you go. So now we have our mixture, and this is, I always make this joke into my like baking demos, but one of the best parts about cooking vegan food is you can try it raw and see if it tastes good before you ball them up. So it's kind of weird looking. So I think the flavor is good. I actually am going to add some pepper and salt. So you wouldn't be able to do this with a real meatball. Taste test it. So we're going to add a bit of that in. And then, so then you want to cook these at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes, and then you can flip them or rotate them halfway through. And you want to do that on some parchment paper. But my best tip for making meatballs is to use a measuring spoon. So this is 1.5 tablespoons, and this recipe made then 10 pretty large meatballs. So you just want to scoop that out and roll it. You want to wet your hands, probably, is another good tip. But then you have a delicious meatball. And you're going to bake that, or I saw recipes online where you can do it in the air fryer, which would be amazing because they would be so nice and crispy around the whole surface. And then if you were to put that in a sauce, it's not going to come apart on you. So these are a little bit different from animal-based meatballs because you can't just let it simmer in the sauce because eventually it would fall apart. So you want to put these meatballs in the sauce at the end, right? So this is what they come out looking like. So very awesome. And these are actually holding together way better than I thought. Usually, like I said, with chickpeas, they'd be really dry and they would like break apart when I did this. So I have not tried these cooked yet, even though I just made up this recipe today. So you can see, just looks delicious inside. Amazing. And another thing you could do, I always try to do this, is you could chop up some kale really small and put it in here. I'm always trying to get kale and stuff. So let's give it a go. Oh, that's good. That's got a really, really good savory flavor, like really hearty flavor. And then all the seasonings we put in, those fresh herbs and the onion, really make that. So that recipe, like I said, did 10 meatballs. So if you're making it for 2, I think that would be perfect. 5 meatballs each, or you can double it, triple it, quadruple it if you want to freeze them. And actually you could, before you roll them up, just freeze that dough, and then you can take them out, the dough or whatever, the mixture. That's pretty awesome. And then roll it up when you're ready and cook it. So I'm going to reuse my flax egg bowl. I'm going to try this too. So here's my meatball. And I made a really quick marinara sauce with all that fresh herbs and garlic and onions and peppers and just some cheap sort of store-bought sauce. So you guys can see that a little bit. We're going to grab a spoon. Look at that. Oh, so good. And then you could put that on pasta, or you could use these in sort of a goulash type recipe with a different kind of flavoring, but it's really good just with plain old pasta sauce. Let's see this. That's really good, actually. I'm impressed that came out after winging it, just looking this up all day. So that's it, guys. Super easy meatball recipe. Really easy to make in bulk and really easy to freeze and use later. And you can use it in a whole bunch of different recipes. You could probably also make that into a patty and turn it into sort of like a bean burger. But you could mix the flavors however you want. So that's it, guys. Super easy again. Oh, someone is saying they'd be good with a creamy mushroom sauce. That's also a great way to do it, more like a Swedish meatball. So I really love recipes like that where you can get the recipe down and then just change it for whatever you need to do. And that entire recipe of 10 meatballs, I think, is about maybe 300 calories. I've been trying to count my calories lately, so I calculated that out. So that's pretty good. Tons of protein for 300 calories, and then you can have some sauce and pasta. But that's it, guys. So thanks everyone who followed me here, who found me here in my technical glitch. And I will edit this video and edit out all of the beginning stuff later and post it on YouTube so you can share it with your friends, and you'll be able to find it from my main page within a few hours. But that's it. I appreciate you guys dealing with my crazy tech problems and weird angles and all that stuff. So here you go. Bye, guys. That was fun. Thank you. Bye.